Film me.
Hi, this is Noreen. This is my first show of Get Real, and today I'm going to interview Peter Mullan, actor and producer.
Peter is a very well-known Scottish actor and film director, and he's kindly agreed to come to Noreen's flat where we're doing our first show of Get Real and be interviewed by Noreen. So he's just arrived and we're going to go meet him downstairs.
And later on in the day I'm going to interview Nikita. Nikita has played Cinderella in the Pavilion Theatre this year, so I'm really looking forward to speaking to both of them. When I first got to know you, Peter, you were in like the theatre companies, right?
In the theatre.
And so much has happened in your life since then. Has it changed you at all? Are you still the Peter I knew in Camus, or are you?
I would imagine so. I mean, I don't know, everybody changes in life. Sometimes for the better, some for the worse. I don't think what you do is for a living should necessarily, I mean, it's going to change you in some way. Mm-hmm. But not in, I wouldn't have thought, not in any personality sense. I mean, there was a guy said to me once, this I do subscribe to, which is that fame, so-called, unmasks people. Mm-hmm. In other words, if you're a to begin with, it's the fame just allows you to be more of a. The good guys, I think, were always pretty decent people to begin with, mm-hmm. and the bad ones, I don't think fame changed them. I think it allowed them to be more obviously what they were, which is, well, now I've got power. Mm-hmm. So whereas before I was it was actually the decency was the cover up. Uh-huh. Once they get fame, then they become the creature that you meet and loathe, you know. Uh-huh. But in my experience, I've only ever met a couple who are like that. Most of the people I've met and worked with have been brand new.
My second guest today is Martin Coyle, coordinator of the Kingsway Health and Wellbeing Centre. Can you explain the services given here?
This Kingsway Court Health and Wellbeing Centre was set up 6 years ago now under the Social Inclusion Partnership, and it was set up to address the health and wellbeing of residents of Kingsway Court and Plain Street high-rise flats. And it's about looking at what makes people feel better about themselves, as much as it's certainly not a medical model. It's much more a social model and about helping people to feel better about the quality of life that they have. There's a number of different types of services that we have here. We've got an inquiry and advice service where people might just need a bit of information or advice about something, and we can tell them where to go, whether that's a housing office or a benefits office, or whether they just need to know about their diet or whatever, we can try and give them some sort of advice and put them in touch with a person who could answer their questions. We also have a number of different types of groups. We've got a women's group, we've got a film making group, and we've got a pensioners club. As you know, we've also got a large number of asylum seekers in the area, and we provide particular services for them. They have real difficulties with language, so we provide ESOL classes to try and help improve their basic English skills. And we have dedicated staff team that deal with their issues in relation to claiming asylum and their relations to, their issues in relation to being in a new country, and how they find their way about, how they make phone calls, how they access the post office, where the kids go to school, getting a GP. You know, we have a dedicated staff team who deal with that.
How would you like to see the centre develop?
I think there's a lot more stuff needs to be done in terms of working with members of the community. Developing processes will allow this centre to engage a lot better and talk to people and find out more for people. Some of the development is a need for potentially developing a centre here, a purpose-built centre that would serve this community.
So what advice do you give to members of the community that want to improve their health here?
The three basic things that people appear to need in their life to ensure that they've got good health and well-being is a decent house, a good dry house with a roof over their head, a decent job, and more say in the decisions that affect their community. I've did that here in Glasgow, I've did it in Edinburgh, I've did it in South Africa. And the exact same survey would produce the exact same answers. 6,000 miles apart, people come up with the same answers. I think community activism is a really good way of helping to influence that third factor there about having a voice in the decisions that affect your community. So you need to be active. A really good way of doing that is by volunteering. That's one of the things this centre offers. It offers people the opportunity to volunteer and address particular issues in the community that they would like to see addressed. We can provide them with support here within the community.
Have you got any inspiring stories about how the centre has helped people in difficult situations?
It's probably about 2 years back now, I think, at a time when lots of asylum seekers were being deported in what was the infamous kind of what you called dawn raids, which was a really inhumane approach to taking people out of their homes early in the morning and taking them out of the country. Some people had been here a number of years and developed relations, developed neighbours, but doing all the sorts of things that would be expected of them as asylum seekers to come into the community and try integrate. And they were then being brutally withdrawn in a really inhumane way. And there was one particular instance of a family that happened to the Vukash family, who were taken one early morning. And the impact that had in this community, for me, I could see for that process that the work that this centre was doing in terms of community development work was actually taking effect. It was almost funereal. It was almost like a death in the family. Yeah. And some people were quite traumatised. This centre was able to be here and support those people. And part of that support allowed people to talk. And out of that talk came a campaign of action, which was amazing. That was a truly inspired community, a community motivated to do something its own. They weren't prompted by anybody. It was just local women who decided, this is not happening in my name. Yeah. This is atrocious. And from that came the Kingsway Amnesty group, who met every single morning, candlelight vigils, and protested and stopped the dawn raid process here at Kingsway. And that was amazing to see. And that's an empowered community. That's people taking charge of things in their life.
Well, can I thank you for bringing that up, because as you know, myself and Jean Donachie are the women that you're talking about. And when the Vukash family were taken away, I was so friendly with that family. I was their Auntie Noreen. And you know, when I came in here, I was heading for a nervous breakdown. And if it hadn't been for this centre, I believe I would have taken a nervous breakdown, because it was like all those deaths in my family, and the centre really, really helped me through that, and it made me strong, and it made me fight against the way asylum seekers were being treated in this area, because they weren't asylum seekers to Jean and I, they're our friends and neighbours, and we were determined, we were putting a stop to that. Jackie, so how long have you lived in Kingsway?
I've been here just under 4 years.
Under 4 years?
Yeah.
And what do you find there is to do in the Kingsway?
Pretty much nothing. You find, apart from there's the Scotstoun gym further down there, but you find, I mean, this part in the flats are more deprived, and you find the gym's actually quite expensive for a lot of the stuff.
Right.
So for community centres, I mean, I used to go, it was drum chapel opportunities for training and employment things. So you have to go all the way to drum chapel. There's nothing here, you know. Very few people know about the Dumbarton Road corridor down there, and now it's hard to get access to it. And see things just for trying to get computing skills like your ECDL. I mean, you've got a drop-in up in Drum Chapel. You know, you don't have anything like that here, so you need a place where a community centre, particularly for this area. Right. And it's a good way as well to integrate people, because of all the different people from different countries that's coming in. You know, because there's nothing.
Be like my gran, join Kingsway High.
What made you bring that issue out on film?
For the Magdalen Sisters,
aye.
I was channel hopping and I heard a lady say, and they put me away because they thought I was too pretty. And that's what caught my attention. It's like, why would somebody put you away for being too pretty? And I sat and watched this documentary, and by the end of it, I was just howling. I was everything between grief and rage. And then a lot of stuff came back to me about my own childhood. My mother used to work with the nuns in Nazareth House, which is now rightly being brought up for prosecution. And she, cool man, I like that. It's usually my phone that goes, in fact, you just reminded me, I'd better turn mine off. I was on a set one day and this first assistant director screamed at people, turn your f***ing phones off. I swear, phones came out, Mum. And then right in the middle of a take, bleep, 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 and he went, who the f***? And it was his. Who the f***? So that was him, screwed for the day. It says I'm right for shouting. So my mother worked with the nuns in Nazareth House, but she worked with the old folk, so she never saw what they would do to the kids, and we called them Nazi Waynes, right? As Waynes do, we called them the Nazi kids. My first love was a Nazi kid, because she was in Nazi House, and I remember we all used to, as boys, we would show scars and look at this and look at that and all that shit. And this lad took his shirt off, and his back had been, the welds running down his back was on. He claimed that it was the nuns did it to him. And to our eternal shame, none of us believed him, because nuns don't do that kind of thing. So, and I remember consciously, along with all the other kids, saying, no, your dad did that to you, and that's why the nuns are looking after you, but you're telling us lies to try and cast aspersions upon the nuns, or the cream buns as they were known. And And literally it was only after that documentary, it's 30 years after that conversation that I had with that lad, that it suddenly dawned on me that really obviously most of those kids have been telling the truth. I did toy the idea of putting in one or two of my good nuns. And quite rightly, I got a lot of stick in the Catholic press worldwide for not having shown a good nun. But everything that I felt about the Magdalen and all the research that I did basically point to the fact there were no good nuns. The good nuns weren't put into Magdalen. They put the bad ones in because they were to basically enforce slavery. Whenever you do a film like Magdalen, which is an issue-based kind of genre movie, you do have to make those choices as to, right, okay, how do I wish to approach it, i.e. what do I put in, what do I leave out?
Yeah.
And as long as you're consistent with it, you can sleep at night.
Join Kingsway Eye. Kingsway Eye.
Join Kingsway Eye.
My special guest today on Get Real is Martin Goldie.
The role of financial inclusion advisor is funded by Glasgow City Council through the Scottish Executive, because it has been identified that a lot of people need help and assistance in financial matters, planning, budgeting, things like that. And what I try and do is link in with people who are financially excluded or financially unaware. And what we have to do is address people who are going through transitional periods in their life and give them as much help as possible.
What are your 3 top tips for staying out of debt?
I think the 3 tips that come to mind immediately, the first one would be budgeting. I think that's very important. Work out your income and expenditure and see what free funds you have. The second tip would be prioritise your spending. Realise what's important and what's not important. Cut out the things that are not important. It could be getting rid of Sky TV, something like that, when you've got ordinary TV, or having your ordinary phone and not a mobile. Be aware of that. And finally, I think knowing where to turn for help, that's very important, because nobody can know everything. And there's that well-known saying, knowing your weakness strengthens it. So if you don't know something, you should ask, but it's important to know where to ask to get proper advice and guidance.
Join Kingsway I did, it's good. Join. Kingsway
How long have you lived in the Kingsway?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. And what difference would you like to see made here in the Kingsway?
Well, for a start, I've got 4 kids, and basically they're stuck in the house. There's nothing for the weans to do around here. Like a park, there's not much of a park really.
Right.
A climbing frame, which my daughter can't use because she can't really climb up.
Right.
She's 4. My kids are stuck in the house. I've got one of 13 and one of 11. They don't go out because there's nowhere to go unless they hang about the bottom of clothes.
Right.
They're wanting things today, and to be honest, there is really nothing here today. A lot of people here is on benefits as well. If they want to do it with their kids, they can't afford it. I've got 4 kids, I can't afford it. So a community centre would be ideal to get the weans something to do, basically, without costing us an arm and a leg that we can't afford. I'm stuck in the house with the wean all the time.
Right.
If I had somewhere to go, then I would go.
Join Kingsway I.
Kingsway I.
Sorry, what want to ask me? My name is Joe.
My name is Joe. What brought that about?
Well, we were shooting orphans, and word came through via the agent that Ken wanted to talk to us about this film. And I'd worked with Ken Loach on a film called Riff Raff in 1990, I think it was. And I got to the wire for another film called Raining Stones. And it was down between me and Bruce Jones, and Bruce got it, and it was brilliant. And the great thing with Ken is you never took offence if you never get the part. You know, it was just, you know, some you get, some you don't. Such is life. And so he got in touch, and we went to a wee cafe while I was shooting. And he said, I would like you to be in this film. It's called My Name is Joe. And it's about a recovering alcoholic. And that was it. That's all he told me. I said, so why did they stop drinking? You'll find out. Well, is there going to be a script? No. Well, there is, but you don't want to get to see it. And that was it. I knew nothing else about it. I didn't know where the guy was in it for the first 2 days, or if he was in it for the whole shoot, or none of us had a clue. Anyway, there was much to and fro's about whether I was going to be able to do it because of the whole orphans thing. And they worked out a big deal, basically. They kind of transferred, they paid a kind of transfer fee so that my team in orphans could basically, we booked them for the 7 weeks it took for me to shoot My Name is Joe. So they were laughing. Do you know what I mean? They were getting 7 weeks money and they weren't doing any work. You know what I mean? Whereas Muggins was, I went straight from, we finished shooting, cutting, or picture locking they call it, Orphans on the Friday. I started working My Name is Joe on the Monday. Then 6 weeks later, finished My Name is Joe and started again on Orphans. So it was 13 straight months working. And by the end of it, I was totally done in. But Joe was great fun. I mean, the only a half decent bit of acting I had to do the whole damn thing. Was I had a kind of crying scene to do, and I found it really hard because I was having such a good time. Most actors will cry at a drop of a hat, but no, I couldn't do it. Couldn't get the old tears stuff, so I did all that crappy. And it's in the film, really pish. It's like, what is that? You know for a fact the guy's not crying because it's like that.
I'm laughing.
Ham bone acting. I had a ball. I had the absolute ball. And when we did actually get to see the final film, it's done well. It's lasted the test of time. I think recently it was the BFI. It's in the top 100 greatest British films ever made. But over the years, more and more people have gotten to see it, in Scotland especially, because of video and DVD. It amazes me because you get all these wee pricks going, "Fuck man, you look really old." You know what? It was 11 years ago, guys. Give me a break. Sorry for getting old. You know what I mean? I apologise. But they just seen it last night. And that's the problem with the visual media, is that if somebody comes across something, okay, so it's 20-year-old, they think you shot it yesterday, so they think you should look exactly the same. But the great thing about something like Joe is, particularly for Davey and Louise and Gary, you know, for all the actors, it's nice if you're in a quality piece, you know. And two of the best directors I've ever worked in Scotland are both English. You know, Ken Loach and Danny Boyle. And I've always found it really interesting it was Ken Loach and Danny Boyle, because I mean I'm a Republican in the sense that I believe in an independent socialist Scotland. But I've no time for any anti-English shit.
No.
Particularly when you consider that my industry anyway, two of the most influential, two guys who really gave so many Scottish actors a break were both English. That they didn't have any kind of prejudice. They weren't, you know, they were happy to use Scottish talent.
Hi everyone, this is Nikita. Say hi. Hi. Being on X Factor, the comments that were made to you, did it affect how you felt about yourself or the songs that you were singing?
Well, being on the show was really a great experience for me. I've learnt so much, even though not winning. I've benefited a lot of things out of it and got a good foot in the door, really. This old house is falling down around my ears. I'm drowning in a river of my tears. When all my will is gone, you hold me sway. Now I need you at the dimming of the day. You pulled me like the moon pulls on the tide. You know just where I keep my better side.
Come on, join Kingsway Eye, man.
Join Kingsway Eye.
If you like everything that you've seen on Get Real and want to make a film yourself, then join Kingsway Eye.
Kingsway Eye.
Yes! I belong. Yes.
You join the Kingsway Eye.